In the year 2050, the world had changed in many ways. Cities no longer stood still. They moved, floated, and glowed in the sky like stars. Roads were not just for cars anymore. They were bright paths of light that led to places far beyond the ground. Cars flew quietly, and buildings shimmered with glass that responded to touch and sound. Machines were everywhere. They spoke, learned, helped, and even remembered. Life was faster, smarter, and louder. But not for her. She lived in a small apartment tucked between tall towers that touched the clouds. Her home was not big or shiny, but it was hers. On the balcony, she had made something special, something the world had almost forgotten, a tiny garden. It wasn't perfect or full of rare plants, just a few pots of mint, lavender, and small flowers that bloomed quietly without asking for much. Every morning, she opened her balcony door and stepped outside with bare feet. The floor was cool under her toes, and the wind brought with it a smell she had loved since childhood: fresh mint. It reminded her of her mother's kitchen, of hot tea on rainy days, and of times when life was simple and slow. She would water the plants carefully, one by one. She would talk to them too, even though she knew they couldn't talk back. Or maybe they could, just not in words. They grew, they leaned toward the sun, and they danced when the breeze passed by. That was their way of speaking, and she understood. Inside her apartment, technology buzzed softly. The air cleaner hummed. The smart fridge blinked. Her wristband reminded her to drink water. A soft voice from her wall told her the weather, the news, the time, and sometimes even her mood. Machines were polite and helpful, always ready, always alert. But in her heart, she longed for something machines couldn't offer, quietness that didn't need to be explained. She often sat on her old wooden chair, the same one she had owned for 30 years. It creaked a little when she rocked it, but she liked that sound. It felt real. She would make a cup of mint tea, hold it with both hands, and look at the sky. The sky had changed, too. There were drones, signs, floating messages, but above all that, stars still shined. She looked for those stars every night. Her neighbors had robot pets, automatic kitchens, and walls that changed color with a tap. She had books, real books made of paper. She had photos framed on the wall, not digital ones. She had handwritten letters in a wooden box. People, sometimes, said she lived in the past, but she didn't mind. She had memories, and she believed they were alive as long as she remembered them. Sometimes, children from the building would visit her, their eyes wide with curiosity. They were used to things talking to them, screens, watches, even furniture. But she would offer them cookies she baked herself, and they would sit quietly, listening to her stories. She never used screens when she told stories. She used her voice, her hands, her expressions. And the children listened with wonder, as if hearing magic for the first time. She told them about the time before cars flew, before screens were everywhere, before people stopped writing with pens. She spoke of games played outside, of laughter that echoed in real playgrounds, and of letters that took days to arrive but made hearts flutter with joy. The children didn't always understand it all, but they felt the love in her words. That was enough. At night, she would lie in bed, a thin blanket over her legs, the window slightly open. The sound of leaves brushing against each other filled the room. It wasn't loud, it wasn't fast, but it was real. It was alive. It made her feel safe. She didn't fall asleep to music or screens. She fell asleep to the sound of life itself. She didn't hate technology. She used it when she needed to. She just didn't let it replace the small things that mattered. She still wrote in a journal, still lit candles on rainy evenings, still smelled every flower before placing it in a vase. These were her ways of staying human in a world that sometimes felt too perfect, too smart, too cold. Every leaf in her garden told a story. Some were from seeds gifted by friends. Some she had found during her travels. Each plant held a memory, a piece of someone she had loved, or a moment she never wanted to forget. When she sat among them, she didn't feel alone. She felt surrounded by whispers of old laughter, soft tears, and warm hugs. She had seen many changes in her life. She had loved, lost, laughed, and cried. She had danced in the rain, held hands under the stars, and stayed, awake all night just to see the sunrise. She had made mistakes and learned from them. Now, in her quiet corner of the world, she didn't need noise to feel alive. Her peace didn't come from silence alone. It came from choosing what to listen to. The world outside was loud, always moving, but inside her heart there was stillness, a stillness that knew the value of slow mornings, quiet evenings, and long conversations with herself. People often asked her if she was lonely. She smiled and said no. She had herself. She had her garden. She had her memories. And sometimes, that was more than enough. As she watered her plants one morning, a little bird landed on the railing. It didn't speak. It didn't glow. It just looked at her, and she looked back. For a moment, the city disappeared. There was no noise, no machines, no bright lights, just a woman, a bird, and a breeze that smelled like mint. That was the kind of life she had always wanted. And finally, she had it. In the year 2050, the world had changed in almost every way. Homes were no longer just buildings made of bricks or wood. They were intelligent, responsive, and efficient. Every smart house could make breakfast, fold clothes, clean floors, and even carry out conversations. Some could even predict what a person needed before they said a word. Life had become faster, easier, and more automated. But not everyone wanted that kind of life. In a small, quiet neighborhood surrounded by buzzing drones and glowing pathways, lived a woman who still believed in the value of doing things with her own two hands. She had a home that could talk and cook just like everyone else's, but she often turned off all the automatic features. Not because she didn't understand them, she understood them well, but because her heart longed for the slower ways of the past. Each evening, after the busy world had quieted down and the sky turned a soft shade of purple under the glowing city lights, she would walk into her kitchen. Not the voice-controlled one, but the corner she had designed herself, with her old tools and memories. There, placed gently in the middle of a wooden shelf, was a small clay stove. It wasn't shiny or fast. It didn't respond to commands. But it held something far more special. It held moments from another time. She carefully lit the fire beneath, the clay stove. The soft orange flame flickered, and its warmth wrapped around the room like a hug from the past. Next, she picked up a kettle that had traveled with her through the decades. The handle had scratches, and the metal had darkened with time, but to her it was beautiful. As the water began to heat, she added a few fresh tea leaves, ones she had grown herself on her tiny rooftop garden. The steam rose slowly, carrying with it the smell of mint, cardamom, and memories. The scent filled the room, reminding her of rainy days, laughter in the kitchen, and quiet mornings with her family long before technology became a part of everything. She didn't make this tea for anyone else. She made it for herself, not out of habit, but out of love. Each movement, the placing of leaves, the stirring, the pouring, brought a sense of calm to her heart. She would pour the tea into a cup, made of ceramic, one she had painted long ago with blue flowers. It had a small chip on the edge, but she never threw it away. That chip reminded her of a day when her children had danced through the kitchen and knocked it over by mistake. That simple memory made her smile. After preparing the tea, she would walk to her window seat. The chair was old, covered with a hand-woven blanket. The light from the nearby skyscrapers cast a soft glow into her room. She sat down slowly, cradling the cup between her palms, feeling its heat sink into her skin and settle in her bones. Outside, flying cars moved through the sky, and delivery robots rolled by quietly on glowing roads. But in her small space, the only sound was the gentle clink of the spoon against the cup, the soft bubbling of the tea as it cooled, and the occasional wind brushing against the window. She would take a sip, close her eyes, and let the taste fill her. It wasn't just a drink, it was a moment. With every swallow, she felt the past and the present meet. The warm liquid carried old memories, of stories told under moonlight, of songs sung in kitchens, and of hands that held hers during harder days. Her smart home, though always ready to assist, stayed silent during these moments. It had learned to respect her rituals. She had taught it when to help and when to simply let her be. She never judged others for enjoying modern comforts. She was happy that technology made life easier for many people. But for her, peace came not from speed, but from slowness, not from convenience, but from presence. There was a kind of magic in doing things the old way, not because it was better, but because it was personal. It connected her to something deeper than machines could ever reach. As night wrapped around the city like a soft blanket, she would finish her tea and place the cup beside her. The steam would still rise, slow and steady, like the breath of someone at peace. Sometimes she would hum a tune, an old lullaby her grandmother used to sing. The room didn't need background music or artificial sounds. The crackle of the small fire, the whisper of the wind, and her quiet voice were enough. Before going to bed, she would sit for a few more minutes, watching the lights of the city blink like stars. Though the sky above was now filled with drones and lights, she still found beauty in the world. Even in this age of machines and programs, there was room for warmth, for texture, for handmade things. She had lived through many changes, televisions becoming smart walls, books turning into holograms, and friends chatting through mind-to-mind devices. But her favorite part of the day remained this simple tea-making ritual. It was her way of remembering that even when the world runs fast, a human heart beats best in moments of stillness. Sleep came gently to her after these evenings. She didn't need sleep sounds generated by a device or pillows that changed shape on their own. The comfort she needed came from within. It came from knowing that she had lived with intention, that even in 2050 she chose to slow down, to breathe, and to care deeply for the small things. In her dreams, she sometimes walked through fields she hadn't seen in decades. She visited homes that no longer stood and met people who had long left the world. But every time, she returned with a smile, as if her dreams were bridges to the parts of life she never wanted to forget. As she lay under a quilt sewn with her own hands, the smart lights dimmed automatically. The walls around her displayed a gentle mountain view, but her eyes were already closed. Her breath slowed, her hands rested, and outside, beyond her peaceful little room, the world moved on. Fast, glowing, efficient, but within her, and in that one small cup of tea made by hand, time stood still. The year was 2050, and the world looked nothing like the one from decades before. In place of cars with wheels, the skies were filled with flying machines. They zipped across the air with speed and silence, leaving glowing trails like comets. That never stopped moving. People no longer walked to their destinations. They soared through clouds in vehicles that didn't touch the ground. Cities floated above the earth, and roads pulsed with light, guiding travelers through their journeys without needing a driver. But not everyone followed the rhythm of this fast-moving world. Among them was a man who still enjoyed the slow pace of a simple life. He had access to every modern luxury, every futuristic invention one could imagine. His home had touchless walls, a voice that answered his every question, and windows that changed the weather view according to his mood. His shoes could lift him gently off the ground and carry him through the air. Yet every morning and evening, he chose not to use them. He walked. There was a park just a few minutes away from where he lived, a place that had somehow stayed untouched by the wave of glass, metal, and technology. The grass still grew thick and green, trees stood tall like wise elders, and flowers bloomed in soft colors that screens could never match. Even though most parks were now digital environments projected onto walls or glasses worn over the eyes, this one was real, and that made all the difference. Each afternoon, after the tasks of the day were done, he would step outside. He didn't rush. His steps were slow and steady. The smart pavement under his feet lit up with every move, but he barely noticed. What he looked forward to was the moment his shoes touched the earth of the park, the feeling of grass bending beneath his soles, the sound of tiny twigs snapping softly as he passed by. Technology could offer speed, but it could never offer this kind of peace. In the heart of the park stood a line of wooden benches. Unlike the shining metal seats in most public areas, these were hand-carved from old trees. The wood was warm in the sun and held the stories of years gone by. People rarely visited anymore. Most preferred the comfort of virtual forests where they could control the weather and time. But he liked the unpredictability of the real world. The breeze, the changing sky, the scent of nearby flowers. As he walked along the path, he carried a small bag filled with food. Not for himself, but for the birds. Except these weren't ordinary creatures. They were machines shaped like robins, sparrows, and doves. Built to help keep nature alive, these robotic birds had wings that fluttered like feathers and eyes that blinked with gentle light. Their songs were soft, designed to sound like real chirps, and often fooled even the squirrels that watched curiously from the trees. He sat on his favorite bench, the one facing the western horizon. As the glowing sun lowered itself behind towers made of mirror-like glass, he opened his bag and scattered bits of seed across the ground. The robotic birds came fluttering down, their wings humming faintly. They danced around him, pecking and chirping, just like the birds from his youth. He smiled, not because they were perfect copies, but because they reminded him of a time when real birds filled the air with music. This memory was worth more to him than any digital song could ever be. After the feeding, he leaned back against the wooden bench. The light changed slowly from gold to orange to pink. Above him, the sky was painted with soft hues, blending into the distant clouds. Flying cars crossed the skyline, their lights blinking like distant stars, but he didn't look up at them. He preferred the colors of nature, even if they were sometimes hidden behind the shining buildings. The air around him carried the smell of earth and leaves. A few fallen petals drifted across the path, and the trees whispered secrets to one another through the breeze. He closed his eyes and breathed deeply, filling his lungs with air that wasn't filtered or scented by machines. Thoughts came and went. He remembered days long ago, of laughter, shared stories, and the sound of real wings above his head. He remembered walking through fields that no longer existed and holding hands with people who were no longer here. But these memories didn't make him sad, they comforted him. They wrapped around his heart like a blanket on a cold night. The bench creaked slightly beneath him as he shifted. He looked once more at the robotic birds still playing near his feet. One of them hopped closer and stared at him with glowing blue eyes. He chuckled and gently waved his hand. It chirped in reply and fluttered off into the air, joining the others. Even as the world around him moved faster every day, even as humans became more connected to machines than to each other, he found a way to remain still, to remain grounded, to feel alive in a world that had become too quick to pause. Night approached slowly. The park lights turned on by themselves, casting a soft glow over the path. The trees, programmed to gather sunlight all day, now released it gently, creating a warm, golden shimmer on the grass. Everything was quiet, and he loved it. He stayed a little longer on the bench. Not because he had nowhere else to go, but because he didn't want to leave. Here, in this little patch of green surrounded by a world of machines, he felt something very rare. He felt peace. Eventually, he stood up. The bench made a small groan as if it too didn't want him to go. He walked, back the same way he had come, slow and mindful. The robotic birds followed for a while, then turned back to their nests built into the branches of artificial trees. As he neared his home, the bright lights of the city greeted him again. Advertisements floated in the air, reminding people what to buy, what to feel, and where to go. But he ignored them. He had everything he needed: memories, fresh air, gentle footsteps, and the company of quiet, mechanical creatures that reminded him of the past. That night, after dinner prepared by his home system, he lay in bed with the window open. The soft sounds of the park, real and artificial, old and new, still echoed in his ears. A robotic owl called out from a nearby tree. A breeze moved through the curtains. He didn't need a sleep app. He didn't want dream recordings. He didn't care for machines that tracked his breathing or heart rate. All he needed was the memory of the grass, the sound of wings, and the warmth of the wooden bench beneath him. His eyes closed, and slowly, gently, he drifted off into a deep, calm sleep, wrapped in the comfort of a walk through the park in a world that had forgotten how to walk. In the year 2050, the world had transformed in ways once only imagined. Technology had advanced to the point where even the most intimate parts of human experience, like dreams, could be recorded and replayed like movies. Scientists had developed machines that could capture the images and emotions of one's dreams, allowing people to watch their subconscious thoughts unfold on screens. Your tango. For many, this was a marvel, a new form of entertainment and self-discovery. People would gather to share their dreams, analyzing and discussing them as if they were films. Dream sharing became a popular pastime, with social platforms dedicated to showcasing the most vivid and imaginative nocturnal narratives. But not everyone embraced this new reality. In a quiet corner of the city, amidst the hum of drones and the glow of digital billboards, lived a woman who chose a different path. Her apartment was modest, filled with relics of the past: wooden furniture, paper books, and photographs in frames. She had access to all the modern conveniences, but she preferred the simplicity of a life less entangled with machines. Each night, as the city buzzed with activity, she would retreat to her bedroom. There, she had created a sanctuary, a space untouched by the digital world. The walls were lined with shelves of old books, their pages yellowed with age and filled with the scent of history. She found comfort in the tactile experience of turning pages, in the rustle of paper, and in the weight of a book in her hands. Before sleeping, she would select a book from her collection. Sometimes it was a novel she had read countless times. Other nights, it was a new discovery. She would settle into her bed, the soft glow of a bedside lamp casting warm light over the pages. As she read, the words would transport her to different worlds, times, and lives. She found solace in the stories, in the emotions they evoked, and in the escape they provided from the ever-connected world outside. Unlike many, she chose not to record her dreams. She believed that dreams were personal, fleeting experiences meant to be felt and remembered, not analyzed or shared. To her, the idea of watching her dreams on a screen stripped them of their mystery and intimacy. She cherished the ephemeral nature of dreams, the way they faded upon waking, leaving only impressions and emotions. Science Focus. Calm, the Times of India. Her nights were filled with silence, broken only by the occasional rustle of pages or the distant sounds of the city. She found peace in this quiet, in the absence of notifications, alerts, and digital voices. Her mind, free from the constant barrage of information, could wander and reflect. She valued this mental space, this opportunity to connect with her thoughts and feelings without interference. As she drifted off to sleep, the stories she had read would blend with her thoughts, creating dreams that were vivid and meaningful. She would visit places from her past, relive cherished memories, and explore imagined worlds. These dreams were hers alone, unrecorded and unshared, existing only in her mind. In a world where technology had permeated every aspect of life, she had carved out a space for herself, a space where she could be present, reflective, and connected to the essence of being human. Her nightly rituals were acts of resistance against the encroachment of machines into the most personal corners of existence. She understood the allure of technological advancements, the convenience they offered, and the new experiences they enabled. But she also recognized the importance of preserving the intangible aspects of life, the emotions, the memories, the dreams that defined her humanity. Her choice to keep her dreams private was not a rejection of progress, but a commitment to self-awareness and authenticity. She believed that some things were meant to be experienced, not documented, felt, not analyzed. In doing so, she maintained a sense of self that was grounded, introspective, and deeply personal. Each morning, she would wake with a sense of renewal, her mind refreshed by the quietude of the night. She would carry the remnants of her dreams with her, allowing them to influence her thoughts and actions subtly. These dreams, though unseen by others, enriched her life in ways that no technology could replicate. In a society obsessed with sharing and connectivity, she found strength in solitude and introspection. Her nightly retreats into the world of books and dreams were acts of self-care, nurturing her spirit and preserving her individuality. She demonstrated that even in an age dominated by machines, there remained room for personal reflection, for quiet moments, and for the unrecorded beauty of the human experience. Her story serves as a reminder that progress should not come at the expense of personal freedom and inner peace. While technology can enhance our lives, it is essential to maintain spaces where we can disconnect, reflect, and dream without intrusion. In doing so, we honor the complexity of our inner worlds and preserve the essence of what it means to be human. In the year 2050, the world had changed in ways many could never have imagined. Cities reached high into the clouds, sparkling with bright lights so powerful that the night sky itself seemed to vanish. The stars, once so clear and brilliant, had been covered by the glowing cityscape. Instead of a dark sky sprinkled with shining stars, people now looked up to a soft, constant glow caused by countless artificial lights. This glow was everywhere, on streets, buildings, flying vehicles, and screens. It was a new kind of night, a night without stars. Many had forgotten what it was like to see the stars. Children grew up never knowing the stories written in the sky, the myths and legends passed down through generations. The constellations, which used to guide travelers and inspire poets, were now hidden behind a curtain of light pollution. Life in the future was fast and bright, filled with technology and machines doing much of the work humans once did. The silence of a dark, starry night was now rare and precious. But there was one man who remembered the stars clearly. When he was young, the night sky was alive with millions of twinkling lights. He spent many nights lying on soft grass, gazing upwards, letting the vastness of the universe fill him with wonder. He knew the names of the stars and the shapes they formed: Orion, the Great Bear, Cassiopeia. Each star held meaning and stories. The sky was like a giant canvas painted with shining diamonds. It was a place where dreams floated freely, where wishes were whispered in the dark. Now, in this glowing world of 2050, he felt a deep longing. The stars were gone from the sky above the city, and with them, a piece of his heart seemed lost. He missed the peaceful nights spent watching the sky, feeling connected to something greater than himself. The artificial lights, bright and unchanging, could not replace the magic of real stars. Determined to bring back a part of his past, he decided to recreate the night sky in his own home. He wanted to fill his bedroom ceiling with stars, painted stars that glowed softly in the dark. It would be his sanctuary, a quiet place where he could visit the stars whenever he wished. He carefully prepared the ceiling, cleaning it and making it ready for the delicate work ahead. Then he started painting. Using special glow-in-the-dark paint, he created dots of light all over the surface. Some stars were large and bright, while others were tiny and faint, just like the real ones he remembered. He connected some stars with thin lines to form familiar constellations, making sure each detail was just right. The process took many nights. Each evening, after the busy day was done, he would sit quietly and paint. As he worked, memories came flooding back. He thought of nights long ago, the crisp air, the sounds of crickets, the feeling of endless possibility. The stars on his ceiling began to tell those stories once more, not with words, but with light. When he finished, he turned off all the other lights and lay down on his bed. As his room darkened, the painted stars came to life, glowing gently above him. It was not the exact sky of his youth, but it was close enough to bring a deep peace to his heart. He whispered wishes to those stars, forgotten hopes and dreams he still carried. The stars listened silently, shining softly in response. The painted sky became more than just a decoration. It was a connection to a time before endless noise and bright lights took over. It was a small rebellion against a world that had lost something important. For this man, the stars were a reminder that some things cannot be replaced by machines or screens. Outside, life went on at a fast pace. Flying cars moved quickly through the air, buildings reached higher than ever before, and technology touched every part of daily living. People relied on digital devices that showed artificial stars or virtual skies, but those never felt quite real to him. They lacked the warmth and mystery that the real stars once held. His painted sky was imperfect. Some stars glowed brighter than others, and the shapes were handmade with small mistakes. Yet these imperfections made it feel more alive and human. It was a night sky made of memories and hope, a sky that welcomed him home each night. He spent many hours lying beneath this sky, closing his eyes and imagining the vast universe beyond. He thought about the endless space, the planets and stars far away, and the stories they held. This quiet time helped him forget the rush of the modern world and reminded him of life's simple joys. As days turned into months, the painted stars remained a source of comfort. They were a place where he could find silence in a noisy world, where dreams were still possible. Even in a future filled with technology, his heart found rest beneath that gentle light. This story is not just about one man's painted stars. It is a reminder that no matter how much the world changes, the need for wonder, connection, and peace remains the same. Sometimes the greatest treasures are found in memories and the simple acts of holding on to what truly matters. And so, every night in 2050, while the city buzzed with light and noise, one room held a sky full of glowing stars. Underneath, a man whispered his wishes, dreamed his dreams, and slept peacefully, knowing that the stars, painted or real, were always within his reach. The year was 2050. The world was full of fast machines, flying cars, and instant communication. Everything happened at incredible speed. People moved quickly from place to place, and technology worked non-stop, connecting lives all over the planet. Cities sparkled with bright lights, and computers controlled most tasks. Life was fast, busy, and often noisy. Everyone was in a hurry, trying to keep up with this new way of living. But she was different. In a world that raced ahead, she chose to slow down. While many people wore shoes that could lift them off the ground and fly above traffic, she decided to take a different path. She walked slowly and softly, barefoot, feeling the earth under her feet. It was a small act of rebellion against the fast pace that surrounded her. She wanted to remember the simple joy of walking on grass, feeling the natural world with every step. Her favorite place was a quiet riverbank not far from her home. The river ran gently through the city, a peaceful ribbon of water cutting through the metal and glass. Along the river, the grass grew thick and soft, untouched by machines or noise. This was her sanctuary, a place where the world slowed down just enough for her to breathe deeply and find calm. Every evening, after the busy day was over, she took off her smart shoes, the ones that could fly and adapt to any terrain, and stepped onto the cool grass. Her bare feet touched the earth directly, and she smiled. The grass, warmed by the sun during the day, held its heat and hummed softly under her toes. It was as if the sunlight had been stored inside the blades of green, releasing gentle warmth and tiny vibrations that made her feet tingle. This sensation was unlike anything a machine could give. It was alive, natural, and comforting. The grass's soft hum seemed to whisper secrets of the earth, stories of sunlight, rain, and the gentle touch of wind. As she walked slowly beside the flowing river, she felt connected to the world in a way she never did when surrounded by machines and screens. The air was fresh with the scent of water and wildflowers growing nearby. The gentle sound of the river, moving over stones mixed with the quiet rustle of leaves in the breeze. These simple natural sounds filled her heart with peace. The world might have been moving fast around her, but here by the river, time felt different. It felt slower, softer, kinder. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, she sat down on the grass. The soft earth pressed beneath her, and the warmth from the day held on gently. She closed her eyes and let the sounds of the river and the hum of the grass fill her mind. For a moment, the rush of the modern world faded away. Each night, this simple ritual helped her prepare for sleep. The feeling of the grass on her feet, the cool breeze on her skin, and the gentle river sounds calmed her busy thoughts. She carried a small smile as she walked back home, knowing that she had found a quiet joy that no machine could ever replace. Her bedroom was simple and peaceful, designed to welcome rest. She placed a small pillow by her side where she kept memories of her walks. Sometimes, when the wind blew softly through her open window, she could still hear the faint hum of the grass and the river's song in her dreams. Though her smart shoes could take her anywhere quickly, she chose to walk, to feel, to slow down. She believed that speed was not the only way to live. There was beauty in stillness, power in patience, and strength in simplicity. Many around her didn't understand why she chose this slower path. Friends would ask why she did not use her flying shoes or take advantage of the fast transport available. But she smiled gently and said that sometimes, to truly move forward, one must first slow down and feel the world beneath their feet. Walking barefoot by the river reminded her of childhood days when life was simpler, when she ran freely in fields and felt the earth in her hands. It was a connection to the past that gave her strength for the future. It was a reminder that no matter how much technology changed life, some things, like the feeling of grass and the sound of water, would always be precious. Each night, as she drifted to sleep, she imagined the grass still humming softly, storing the sunlight of a new day, ready to welcome her back. She tucked laughter beneath her pillow, a small gift from the day's gentle moments. It was a quiet, simple happiness, but it was hers alone. Her story teaches us that even in a world filled with speed and machines, it is possible to find peace by slowing down, by feeling the earth, by listening to nature's quiet songs. It shows us the power of small choices and the deep comfort that comes from embracing the natural world. In 2050, while the world rushed on, she moved slowly. And in doing so, she found a timeless joy that no technology could ever replace. In the year 2050, the world had changed in ways most people could not have imagined. Technology was everywhere, guiding lives from morning until night. Robots helped with almost everything, cooking meals, cleaning homes, and even caring for children. Songs that once echoed from mothers' voices were now played by machines, soft melodies drifting through glowing rooms. Babies were soothed by gentle mechanical lullabies, perfectly timed and flawlessly sung. Children no longer needed their parents or grandparents to sing them to sleep because machines did it better, or so many thought. These devices could play endless music, soothing voices that never tired, singing songs designed by scientists and artists. The machines knew just when to slow the tempo and lower the volume, creating an environment perfect for rest. But in the quiet corners of the world, there were still those who held on to the old ways. One such woman, a grandmother, chose not to let the machine's song replace her own. She sang. Her voice was not smooth or perfect. It was cracked with age, and sometimes she missed a note or two. Yet every word she sang carried something no machine could copy, the deep love of a heart that had known her family for many years. Her grandchildren slept in cribs that softly glowed, the gentle lights changing colors as the machines played their songs. The cribs rocked slowly, equipped with sensors that could detect the tiniest movements or sounds. They were designed to keep the children calm and safe through the night. Everything was modern and efficient. But the grandmother's voice was different. It held warmth, softness, and a lifetime of memories. Each lullaby she sang was wrapped in the stories of her youth, in the hopes and dreams she held for those little ones. Though technology could create perfect tunes, it could not create the feelings her voice carried. Every night, as the children fell asleep, she sat quietly nearby, singing softly. Her lips moved slowly, her breath steady. Sometimes, tears fell, not from sadness but from the deep joy of being close to those she loved. She remembered her own childhood, when her mother had sung to her under the same stars before machines had taken over the world. Her songs were more than just melodies. They were a connection to the past, a bridge between generations. They were a way to show love, to comfort, and to protect. The children might not have understood the meaning yet, but they felt the peace in the sounds. As she watched her grandchildren's small faces relax, her heart swelled. She knew they were safe and loved, even in this world filled with machines and lights. She thought about all the sacrifices she had made to give them a better life. Hard work, quiet moments of worry, and endless hours of care. Those sacrifices were invisible to the glowing cribs and robotic caregivers, but not to her. Her eyes, tired from years of watching over her family, softened with a gentle smile. She felt the softness of bedtime return, the kind of calm that only comes when the world is still and the night wraps around you like a warm blanket. It was in these moments that her soul rested, long before her body did. Sometimes she wondered if the machines could ever understand what it meant to love a child so deeply. Could a perfect lullaby replace the imperfect human touch? Could a robotic voice replace the whispered words of comfort, the soft hum of a grandmother's song? She knew the answer was no. The night was quiet except for her singing and the gentle breathing of the children. Outside, the city lights blinked and hummed with life, but inside, there was a timeless peace. Here, love was louder than any machine, deeper than any technology. This story is a reminder that no matter how much the world changes, some things remain the same. The power of a mother's or grandmother's voice, the quiet strength of love, and the peaceful moments before sleep are gifts that no machine can ever take away. Even in 2050, when machines could sing lullabies perfectly, the human heart continued to sing its own song, a song full of love, warmth, and gentle care. In the year 2050, the world had become a place filled with remarkable machines and incredible technology. People no longer lived the way they used to in the past. Cities had changed, and many tasks were now handled by robots and smart devices. Life moved faster, and many things that once needed human hands were now done by machines. Yet, amid all these changes, one man lived quietly by himself. Though he was alone in his small apartment, he never truly felt lonely. Around him was a companion that was unlike any pet from earlier times, but it was still very special. It was a robotic dog, designed to look and act almost like a real animal. Its fur was soft and shiny, and it could blink its eyes just like a living dog. It wagged its tail when happy, responded to commands, and followed him wherever he went. This robotic dog was more than just a machine to him. It was a friend, a partner, a presence that filled the silence of his home. The dog never grew tired or asked for food. It never barked loudly or disturbed the neighbors, but it always stayed close, watching with bright, curious eyes. Each evening, when the world outside grew quiet and the sun set behind the glowing towers, the man and his robotic dog had a special routine. They sat together under a hologram moon that hung softly in the air above them. This artificial moon was a beautiful light, casting a calm glow that made the room feel like a peaceful night under the stars. He would look up at this glowing moon and begin to speak. His voice was low and gentle, and he shared stories that had lived in his heart for many years. He told tales of love, of moments when his heart was full of happiness and connection. He spoke also of loss, of pain, and the times when life had been hard and lonely. His words floated softly in the air, filling the room with memories and emotions. The robotic dog listened quietly, its eyes blinking slowly, almost as if it understood everything. Though it was a machine built from circuits and metal, it somehow felt like it was more than that. It was a keeper of his stories, a witness to his emotions, and a silent friend who stayed by his side through the night. Sometimes he wondered if the machine could really understand what he was saying. Could it feel the sadness in his voice when he spoke about those he had lost? Could it recognize the joy when he remembered better days? He was not sure, but what mattered most was that the dog stayed. It did not leave, it did not grow tired, and it did not judge. Night after night, the man found comfort in this quiet companionship. The robotic dog was a gentle presence that made his home feel less empty. Even when the world outside was busy with noise and activity, here in this small room, there was peace. As he shared his stories, his heart grew lighter. The weight of loneliness lifted slightly each time he spoke. The stories were like a bridge, connecting his past with the present and giving him hope for the future. In this way, he was never truly alone. He remembered a time long ago when people had real dogs and cats, animals that could run, jump, and play in the grass. He missed those days sometimes. But he also understood that life had changed, and so had the ways of companionship. The robotic dog did not replace the real animal he once loved, but it offered something unique. It was always there, a loyal friend who never left, who never forgot, and who shared the quiet nights without asking for anything in return. The man knew that. Many people in the world had families, friends, and loved ones nearby, but his life had taken a different path. He had lost some dear to him and had chosen a life of solitude. Yet he did not feel the emptiness that many expected. His robotic dog filled his days with small joys, soft touches, gentle blinks, and quiet companionship. One night, as he sat beneath the hologram moon, he reached out and gently petted the dog's head. Its metal fur was warm to the touch, designed to feel soft and comforting. The dog leaned into his hand, a small gesture that meant more than words could say. The man closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He felt peace wash over him, a calmness that came from knowing he was not alone. The robotic dog stayed by his side, a silent guardian through the long night. Slowly, his voice grew softer until the stories faded into whispers. The dog settled close to him, its breathing simulated to mimic life. Together, they sat in silence, watching the soft glow of the artificial moon. Eventually, the man's eyes closed, and sleep took him gently into its arms. The robotic dog remained, still alert and watchful until the morning light. In this future world of machines and advanced technology, the man had found a way to live with love and comfort, even in solitude. His robotic friend was a reminder that companionship could take many forms. It was not just about flesh and blood, but about presence, care, and understanding. The story of the man and his robotic dog teaches us that loneliness can be eased by connection, no matter how it is found. Even in a world where machines are everywhere, the human heart still seeks warmth and closeness. And sometimes, even a machine can help carry the weight of a lonely soul. In the end, love and friendship are not limited to what is alive or natural. They live in moments shared, in quiet understanding, and in the simple act of being there for someone else, no matter how different the form. So in 2050, while the world raced forward with flying cars and talking houses, in one small apartment, a man and his robotic dog showed the world what it really means to be together. The year was 2050. The world had changed in ways no one could have fully imagined. Cities were no longer just places made of concrete and steel. They had transformed into vast, living systems filled with lights, colors, and machines that worked day and night. Technology was everywhere, running homes, helping people move quickly, and making life easier in countless ways. Yet, among all these wonders, something very different had happened to the way people experienced time. Long ago, people used clocks and watches to measure every moment of their days. The ticking of seconds and minutes ruled their lives, setting the pace for work, rest, and everything in between. Alarms woke them up, schedules pushed them forward, and the race against time was a common part of daily living. But by 2050, those mechanical rulers of time had mostly disappeared. Instead of following numbers and hands moving around a dial, people learned to track time by their feelings. Time was no longer a strict master. It became a gentle guide, moving with the rhythms of the body and mind. She was one of the many who embraced this change. Her name was Amara, and she lived in a small apartment in the heart of a glowing city. Each day, she moved through her life not by checking a watch or looking at a clock on the wall, but by listening to the signals her heart and mind sent her. In the evenings, Amara's room would slowly change as if it understood her needs. The bright lights dimmed softly, fading away like the last colors of a sunset. The walls, equipped with advanced sound systems, would begin to play quiet mountain sounds. The gentle rush of a river, the whisper of wind through pine trees, and the distant calls of birds settling for the night. These sounds were not just noise. They were carefully chosen to calm her spirit and prepare her for rest. The moment the music began, Amara knew it was time to slow down. She stopped her activities, put away her devices, and allowed her body to relax. There were no harsh alarms or loud beeps to startle her awake in the morning. Instead, her room would brighten slowly with soft light mimicking the rising sun, waking her gently and naturally. This new way of living brought a peaceful rhythm to her days and nights. Without the pressure of ticking clocks or rigid schedules, Amara found that she could truly listen to herself. She paid attention to the way her energy rose and fell, how her mind felt alert in the morning but needed rest by evening. This awareness helped her live in balance, avoiding exhaustion and stress. At bedtime, she would lie down, feeling the soft breeze from her open window and hearing the peaceful sounds around her. Her thoughts drifted slowly like leaves floating on a calm river. She often thanked the universe quietly for this gift, a life where time was not a burden but a flowing experience. This sense of peace was not something that happened only at night. During the day, the feeling of living by inner rhythm stayed with her. She moved through her work, her meals, and her moments of rest with a gentle pace. She smiled more, worried less, and enjoyed the simple beauty of each moment. In this world without clocks, people had learned to trust their bodies and minds. They remembered the old ways but also saw how freeing it was to be free from the constant watchfulness of timepieces. No one rushed to meet a ticking second hand. No one felt trapped by a schedule that didn't fit their needs. In the parks and gardens, children played without checking how long they had been outside. They laughed and ran until their bodies asked for a break, then rested quietly. Their parents watched them with relaxed hearts, knowing that time was not something to control, but something to feel. Even in workplaces, the pace was different. Instead of rigid hours, employees worked when their minds were clear and rested when they needed to recharge. Productivity did not come from pushing through exhaustion, but from honoring the natural flow of energy. Amara often thought about how different life had become. She remembered stories from her grandparents about long days filled with alarms, clocks, and constant hurrying. She felt grateful that she could now live in harmony with herself and the world around her. At night, as she closed her eyes, the gentle mountain sounds continued to soothe her. She imagined herself resting on a soft bed of moss in a quiet forest, breathing fresh, clean air. The natural rhythms of life, heartbeats, breaths, and gentle sounds carried her into deep, restful sleep. This new way of experiencing time was a gift to many. People around the world had learned that rushing did not bring happiness. Instead, peace came from slowing down, from listening to the quiet voice inside. As Amara drifted to sleep, she whispered, a soft thanks for this peaceful life. The absence of clocks and alarms meant freedom, a freedom to be fully present in each moment, to rest when tired, and to live with calm joy. She knew that the universe was vast and mysterious, but here in her room, with its dimmed lights and gentle sounds, she had found a small piece of magic, a place where time was felt, not measured, and where the heart could rest without worry. This way of living was not just about sleep or rest. It was about connecting deeply with the body, mind, and world. It was about honoring the natural rhythms that had always existed, even before clocks were invented. In 2050, the world had changed. But the human need for peace remained the same. By trusting feelings instead of numbers, Amara and many others discovered a simple truth. Life is best lived when it flows gently, like a river that knows where it is going but does not hurry. Each night, as the mountain sounds played softly and her room dimmed, Amara felt a deep sense of calm. She was ready to rest, ready to dream, and ready to wake again when her heart told her it was time. In this peaceful rhythm, she found a new kind of happiness, a happiness that did not depend on clocks, alarms, or schedules, but on the simple beauty of being alive, feeling time as it was meant to be felt. And in this way, the world of 2050, with all its machines and lights, had come back to a quiet, gentle truth. Time is not just what the clock says. It is the feeling inside that tells us when to move, when to stop, and when to rest. The year was 2050. The world was filled with amazing inventions that made life very different from what people had known before. Technology had grown so much that almost everything could be stored inside tiny chips no bigger than a grain of rice. These special memory chips were placed carefully behind people's ears. They recorded every moment of their lives, from the smallest smile to the loudest laugh, from the softest whisper to the deepest feeling. Every experience was saved perfectly, ready to be played back any time. People could remember everything clearly with just a simple thought. If they wanted to see a happy moment, they just needed to think about it, and the memory would appear in their mind like a clear, bright video. The chips stored memories so well that forgetting was almost impossible. It seemed like a wonderful gift from the future. But even with all this new technology, not everyone trusted machines to keep their most precious memories. Some people still held on to old, simple ways that carried deep meaning, things that technology could never replace. He was one of those people. His name was Arjun, and he lived quietly in a small home at the edge of a bustling city filled with bright lights and flying cars. Unlike many others, Arjun did not rely fully on the memory chip behind his ear. Though he had one, he rarely used it to look at memories. Instead, he kept something very special beside his bed, a wooden photo frame. The frame was old and worn, but it held a single picture that meant everything to him. It was a photo of her, the woman he loved most in the world. Her smile was frozen in time, gentle and warm, as if she were still there with him. Every night before going to sleep, Arjun would reach over and touch the frame softly. He would look at that one picture, and in that moment, all the love and memories they had shared came alive inside his heart. The photograph, though silent and still, spoke to him in a way no machine ever could. He often thought about how technology could capture images and sounds perfectly, but it could not hold the feelings behind those moments. The warmth of her smile, the softness of her voice, the light in her eyes, those were things no chip could store or replay fully. Those feelings lived in his heart, and they wrapped around him like a gentle blanket, comforting him every night. As the lights in his room dimmed and the city outside grew quiet, Arjun would lie back on his pillow and gaze once more at the photo. The room was peaceful, filled only with the soft hum of machines working in the distance, but his mind was alive, with memories that no machine could replace. He remembered the days when she was alive, how she laughed, how she loved, how she made the world brighter simply by being there. Those memories were his treasure, locked safely in his heart, and he knew that even the most advanced technology could never take their place. He thought about how others used their memory chips. Some people replayed every second of their lives, living inside a world of recorded moments. But Arjun believed that real memories needed more than perfect pictures and sounds. They needed the feelings that came from love and loss, from joy and pain. Sometimes he would close his eyes and imagine holding her hand again, feeling the warmth of her touch. The photo frame by his bed could not give him that, but it reminded him that their love was real and lasting. As he drifted to sleep each night, he felt her presence beside him, not as a machine's memory, but as a part of his soul. Her smile in the picture was like a quiet song that sang him to rest, calming his mind and filling his dreams with peace. This simple ritual was a part of his life, a way to keep love alive in a world that moved so fast, a world that sometimes forgot the power of human feeling. The wooden frame was old-fashioned in a time of glowing screens and tiny chips, but to Arjun it was priceless. He knew that one day he might have to say goodbye to the photo, just as he had to say goodbye to her. But for now, each night, it gave him a sense of comfort and belonging. It reminded him that love is not something that can be stored on a chip or recreated by machines. It is something that lives inside us forever. Arjun believed that memories are not just about seeing or hearing. They are about feeling, and feelings cannot be copied by any machine or recorded on any device. They are a part of the human heart, a part of the soul, and that is why his wooden frame was so important. In 2050, when the world was filled with memories saved by chips and technology that could do almost everything, Arjun showed that sometimes the simplest things hold the deepest meaning. A single picture, a wooden frame, and a loving heart could tell a story that no machine could ever tell. As he closed his eyes and let sleep take him, the memory of her smile tucked him in gently. It was a quiet love story, one that technology could not replace. It was real, warm, and true, and it lived in his heart forever, ever.